What's up, y'all? Reggie here with the You-Topian project. Let's see, where's my camera at? Here? Anyway, another video. A hot button topic in the internet world right now is Andrew Tate. So I wanted to jump on that as while this is going on, and also partially as a response to a friend in my inbox, all right, who's upset with my position and quote unquote defense, a current, defense of this man, which I don't really consider it a defense. But anyway, so I figured I'd just wrap up a response and put it all in this video and put it up on my channel as some content, because I was gonna text it out or whatever, and then I was like, it's really gonna be too long for what I got in my mind so far. I was like, maybe I'll do a video because I can just kind of reel that off. That's probably gonna be too long and take up too much memory or whatever, and not possibly be able to be sent over through Messenger or text or whatever. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll do a video, upload it, keep it private. And then I'm like, well, I can stand on whatever it is that I'm gonna say, so why don't I just do a video for the channel anyway and kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. So so part of this is going to be a response to this person, and then the other one will, the other part of this video is a purpose to just kind of talk about this situation. So for people who don't know, Andrew Tate is a real controversial figure because he says outlandish things at times, but mostly what he says is not outlandish. He's pretty conservative. He's anti-bullcrap, woke, and media machine establishment bullcrap. He's anti all of that. So that's how he ended up in my algorithm. So I've watched a good many of his videos, listened to, et cetera, again. I'm pretty familiar with him, and I'm pretty familiar with some of the egregious things that he said. I think, so look, really to begin, I don't want anybody to think that I support or agree with the obvious kind of egregious things that he said on his channel when it comes to the R word, that ends in APE, any joke about that, or if it turns out that this guy and his brother and company, et cetera, are really, abusing or making women do anything that they don't want to do. So I don't support that. I don't agree with it. I wouldn't joke around with it. And another thing I had in mind to say is that, with that being said, I don't know of too many conversations that are controversial that have almost no nuance, except children. So when it comes to children, there's really no nuance. There's no, yeah, kinda, blah, blah, blah. And I can't think of anything else. I can't think of anything Kanye said that has no nuance. And I can't think of anything this man has said that has no nuance to it. That includes the R word, because when it comes to that, you have to take the context of the situation before you start passing judgment, is what I'm saying. Especially on claims, because you forcing a woman to do something they don't want to do, or forcing a man to do something they don't want to do, is when it comes to sex and coitus, shall we say, I have no nuance, I have no gray line there, et cetera, et cetera. But the topic at hand, it depends on the context, because anybody out there knows that there have been situations where a person has had that quote unquote jacket or had that mark put on them or attempted to be put on them when somebody is just mad or seeking to harm someone, et cetera, and they are innocent of that claim. So again, the nuance is in the context of what it is that is the claim. And claim's a claim. And then with obvious, true information when it comes forth, there's really no nuance there. Either you're forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do in that department, in the coitus department, or you're not. And if you are, by any stretch of the imagination, then, I don't tolerate that. I don't support it. Because he made some jokes, which my friend didn't bring up, which is more egregious than what they shared with me, which is physical violence. He's joked about the R word, from what I understand, and he has a case. So there's that. Now, but I don't support that. I don't support that. And I don't want, and I don't appreciate what already has been happening for who knows how long. Again, this false choice, logical fallacy, and this fallacy of composition, and poisoning the well and being guilty by association because you like something that a person says or something that they do or did, but this person has done something that other people don't agree with, or has certain has said or done something that other people don't agree with, and therefore you cannot take any of this person's comments or anything that they've done and say that they are good. And I know that that's dangerous, and I also know that I wouldn't want that to be done to me, because people could do that to me, or things that I've done in the past. None is egregious, none of what we're talking about, but I'm just saying, generally, we are not our worst mistakes, as I've said before. So, if you look into the case, I haven't looked into, I've read a couple things with Andrew Tate, right? Sex trafficking is the charge, among other things, and that's obviously the worst sounding one, right? And when we hear that word or phrase, we think about, people being bound up, put in a truck, and going over here and being basically slaves, or et cetera, et cetera. But from what I've seen, what this charge comes from is him having a company that has women doing adult videos, and that they were forced to do so. Now, there could be obviously more to it, but right now that's my understanding. So just let that be known. Now, part of their business was this kind of online webcam dating sort of thing. And one of the mistakes he made is saying that what he was doing, from what I read, he said it was a scam because women would be talking to men with this idea that they would be able to eventually date these women, and these women would be taking them for their money, et cetera, and literally calling and texting, and they would, maybe might have somebody else doing it, and just running a typical kind of I would say running a game on a dude for their money. And apart from him saying and getting so full of himself, because we know that this guy, anybody who watches one of his videos about any topic, you would know that this guy is not a person who does not have his ego intact. So getting online and saying something egregious, or saying something with a lot of added flair or pompousness, et cetera, I would expect him to do that. And it wouldn't be a surprise for you to basically self-snitch and say, it's basically a scam what we're doing, blah, 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 because there's no intention, supposedly what he's saying is there were no intention of these women meeting these men. And then you have these lover boy laws that come into play, which is you creating an atmosphere where you make a man, supposedly, and for whatever reason it's called lover boy. Isn't that sexist or whatever? But men basically being taken advantage of, or women or whatever, being taken advantage of by a situation where a person is basically putting the idea that they could have a relationship with someone and then to find out all along that that couldn't happen. Just sounds like some bullcrap. I don't know. I'll look more into that later. But look, at the end of the day, if you want to spend your money online talking to women or men and thinking that you could possibly be in a relationship with them or meeting them or whatever else, that's your business. And that's, if somebody can talk game to you over the phone or webcam or whatever, and you up your money, you are the type of people, you are the type of man or woman that Andrew Tate makes fun of in many of his videos. And if you want to send your money to these people or these companies or anybody, then that's for you to do. I'm not going to tell a person what to do with their money, within legal realm or typical, legality. But that is, I'm sure that's going to come into play in his case. So, our case is. So it's like, I'm sure if you read about it, it's generally, a lot of kind of victimization of these people. And you're not a victim if you get online and throw your money at somebody who's talking good in your ear or in your face with videos or whatever. It's just not even worth talking about really to me. But it's going to probably be part of the case and later be part of, he was so mean and so bad and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to get into too, as part of rebuttal and part of some of the stuff that he said, which sounds pretty egregious. My friend sent me 2 videos of him talking about, it was really one video, of him talking about basically putting his hands on women. Now, if you watch, the first video is just, he's talking about him and a woman basically talking smack about coitus, about adult relations, right? And he's saying, the woman is challenging him, saying, bring it. I forgot exactly what the word is. She's basically saying, bring it, you can't hurt me. And then he's basically saying, no, I will hurt you and I'll make you cry and I'll make you look at adult relations in a different way, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see what he's doing in his mind is he's now, I'm not vouching or defending or taking up for him, but to me, if you watch any of his videos, he goes from talking about something that happened to talking smack about it. And it's basically, you really can't, would you really kind of take it serious, what he's saying? Because a lot of stuff that he says is obviously for shock value. This topic or so many other topics. You watch 30 minutes of him having a serious conversation, and he starts with one thing and goes off the rails. But really, that's not the egregious part, because he's talking about a consensual situation with his partner. And, my friend didn't like that I was basically, quote unquote, sweeping under the rug what he said in this video. But meanwhile, he's cracked jokes about the R word, which I guess this person maybe didn't know about, to me, which is more egregious. And I take them to be jokes because he said basically some countries you can get away with it easier, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen the video of him saying that, but from what I understand, he has said that before. Something along those lines. Or it's easier to put your hands on them or whatever else. Now, then he says later in the video, he's like, well, can I say this on YouTube? He's like, okay, yeah, I've literally done that before. Because earlier in the video, he's like saying, I will, if you want distraction from my private part, we can just fight, and I'll keep it in my pants. et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the guy's a fighter. So to me, he's just talking smack coming from what he was originally saying. But again, this is hypothetical under a situation where he's saying his partner was saying basically be violent to me. And later in the video, he says, well, can I say this on YouTube? He's like, well, yeah. He's like, I've literally, well, and earlier he says, I'll just beat the S out of you. I think he says that a couple times. And then he says later in the video, well, I've literally done that before. He's like, we're not even having sex. And I don't know if he said slapping or I don't know, slapping, smacking, or even if he said beat the F, beat your, you know what. A few things with that. And she just found this to be egregious. My friend found this to be egregious, and that, she wouldn't want to be my friend, Facebook friend, that if I could sweep this under the rug, et cetera, et cetera. And, I earlier made this comment that, look, also with my own experience, you can have a person want you to be violent with them consensually. And not just in the bedroom, because this person was thinking that I was just talking about in the bedroom, because that's obvious. That happens all the time, right? You can have a person want you to be violent with them in the bedroom. But I don't know. I think this is an unspoken kind of thing that some people have alluded to. I know Andrew Tate has alluded to it, and I know other people have alluded to it before. And most of us, probably not most of us, but at least me, I know that people have relationships where they have consensual violence. And it's not just this typical masochist man idea, right? So my thing was, I need to see context. I need to see the whole video. And then I might not really even have an opinion at that point, because the term is you don't know if it's consensual or not. And even though he says we won't be having, relations, we won't be having SE dash ... to the X, he said we won't even be doing that. And I'll basically smack, blah, 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 whatever he said, put my hands on. So the thing is, what if it's right before? Or what if it's right after? Or what if it's in the middle of the day and they're talking smack, and this is part of their relationship? Because this is consensual for people. Now, why that is, where that comes from, is another story and another topic. But if I could get some of these people on video, I could get you couples who are like this. And over the years of my life, I've always found it interesting coming across these situations. And there haven't been a lot, but people will make their comments. And it's like, if you were in a room full of people, probably most people wouldn't really hear or understand what they're saying. But this is something that some people get off on. And it's not just, there's so many things in a relationship that are extensions of adult relation energy, of SE ... Xual energy. And I'm trying to, I'm using this coded language because of red flags and bots and whatnot on YouTube. But this is not just a bedroom thing. And while I don't do that, most of my life, I've seen this, at least from my, older life, older teenagers to later, where this is a thing. And many people have talked about this. So I can't condemn a man for saying this. I couldn't condemn a woman for saying this, for that matter, because this is a mutually agreed upon thing that I'm talking about. And if people don't know this, if you don't know this, if other people don't know this, that's not my problem. And I'm not just talking about bedroom. So, no, I'm not going to quote unquote, I'm not for cancel culture. Even the worst, most left, most woke, most bullcrap filled people, I don't want to cancel. I want to be around these people. I want to hear what they got to say, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not canceling, and I'm not for that. But if somebody wants to cancel me for what I'm saying, then that's your prerogative. But again, there's the possibility, as he has alluded to, and other people have alluded to in other videos and just hell, probably books, but just other things over the course of years, you will see that this is more common than I think a lot of people would want to admit or probably know about. Now, that also leaves a chance that he's just a 100% a-hole who physically abuses women. And if it turns out that he's one of those people, then that's who he is. And I'm not gonna sit here and defend him or whatever. And if that comes out, I'm not gonna be saying this guy's name and trying to really, act like I'm championing much of what he's talking about, because most of what he talks about, like so many other people that are controversial, is kind of universal knowledge. And I don't need the names of people to talk about the points that they make. It's just kind of a form of I don't want to take credit for certain things if I learned them, if I can give credit to somebody else that taught it. But if it gets to the point to where this guy's name is just dirt and rubbish, which it is for some people, but I don't think it is at this point right now. But I don't need this guy's name. I'm not going to defend this guy or anybody else at any cost. But I do know that these things are nuanced. Everything is nuanced. And from what I've heard with the controversy of this guy and the things that he's said and done, you don't know the context and you don't know how much of it is just bravado, bullcrap. And sure, it could be toxic for, I don't know, a typical immature person, or it could be toxic for somebody that's obviously young. But for most people with a relatively fully developed brain, I'm not going to go out and do something that's bad because Andrew Tate or any other person online was talking about it or made it sound cool or whatever else. So it just blows me away that so many people put so much weight into these things and they ignore everything else that a person might have said or done. And as Andrew Tate said, I think how did he put it? He's pissed off not because of being canceled off the internet when he lost some accounts or whatever else, some typical like Instagram or whatever else. But he said he's pissed off because he used one of his lives. And he was like, if I'm not mistaken, he's like, you get 3 lives. I think one is like cancel. I know for a fact the other 2 was they'll put you in jail for something that you don't really probably need to be in jail for. And 3 is they'll kill you. He said he's used one of his lives. So to an extent, he kind of knew that he was kind of under fire and what was potentially coming. And the other thing is, as I talked about in one of my logical fallacy videos, you or anybody else, we're going to have to wait, really. We're just going to have to wait until a Messiah comes or returns, depending on whatever it is that you believe or don't believe in. We're going to have to wait on a perfect individual before we have anybody that we can speak about or repeat anything that they've said. So therefore, and this is what the machine is doing. So my advice is for people who know what I'm saying and champion the other 99% of things that he said and done and the important topics, which is that basically we are at war with the machine and a bunch of global evil freaks that don't want people to be able to speak openly and speak their mind and speak about certain topics when it comes to men and women, when it comes to business, when it comes to governments, et cetera, et cetera. And the more important thing is that, as he had said in one of his videos, like, he's very influential. So people that are very influential need to be dealt with. If you don't want to abide by a certain set of rules and unspoken rules and laws and expectations, they're going to come for you. But my thing is, for people like Andrew and Kanye and other figures, Trump, all these people tend to be conservatives also, by the way, are deeply, very conservative. And again, you'll never for a figure of speech, but you know what I'm saying? You'll never find a person on the left, typical on the left or whatever, liberal, et cetera, who's going to come under so much fire and so much negative publicity, et cetera, et cetera. And part of that is to create this narrative, this false narrative, that this side of people and how these people think over here on this conservative side or whatever, blah, 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 white, male, Christian, you know what I'm saying, et cetera, et cetera. All these people over here are the ones who are the only ones who are doing and saying bad and egregious stuff. All these people over here on the other side, well, they're the ones who generally have their ish together. And none of this stuff works without the media machine and the typical slavery level coercion that takes place. And to me, that's the more important thing, and that's the more important topics that he talks about. But yeah, anyway, this is way longer than I wanted it to be, but I'm going to upload it anyway. And, I think I got my point across. So just to reiterate, I don't support, and I don't support and I don't agree with some of the things that he said and some of the things that he's done. And that's that. Other things, I feel like we need to wait and see what it is and seek further information. And I think a lot of what this man says is just hyperbole, et cetera, et cetera. And then what is it? It came out that is he married? He's either married or he has a lover or whatever. And he has like 3 or 4 daughters or whatever. And he basically was telling whoever saw him out eating or whatever, he was like basically saying, like, keep it on the low because my image is this bachelor type that's saying all this hoo-ha stuff. And, I have this image to upkeep. So, there's that aspect. So a lot of what he says to me is just like hyperbole, sales puffing, and just kind of being the shock jock or whatever, right? And then most of everything else, I feel, has nuance and context to it. And some of the things that might sound as egregious, might sound deeply, ridiculous and egregious to some people, might not really be that what it is, especially if you're talking about something consensual with people. It just might not sound like something that you would want to do or put up with. So anyway, I think I've said enough. And me and Beulah here are getting ready to go get us something to eat. Ain't that right, Bew? All right. So, Bew, tell the people, quit with all the cancel culture bullcrap and the unforgivingness that people have learned. Tell them, Bew. And with that note, say we'll see you on the next video.